Traders, how are you? Marcello here, founder of the Day Trading Academy, co-founder of Speed Up Trader, where you guys can come and trade our money for just 120 bucks with accounts starting at $25,000. Today, we're going to be doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. I got all your comments about the podcast, so I'm really glad that you guys liked it. Sorry we didn't upload it the week before, but as you guys know, it should be every week from now on. Overall, this week we had a situation where most of the indices of the stock markets, exchanges, were generally positive for the week. On Monday, the S&P 500 rose for the 7th trading session in a row, and it's up overall about 15% in 2019. The Dow is down 0.05% for the week at 26,412. The S&P 500 is up 4.48% at 2,907. And the NASDAQ is up 0.57% at 7,984. Overall, for the markets internationally for the week, something very interesting that happened. Hong Kong, the market cap of the stock exchange in Hong Kong surpassed Japan for the first time. It's ever since the Chinese equity bubble popped in 2015. Essentially, now we have the U.S. with 2 stock exchanges in 1 and 2. Then we have Hong Kong and mainland China in 3 and 4, and then Japan, kind of like changing of the time, so to speak. Overall, other than that, it's the equity markets, the third largest in the world now at $5.78 trillion, behind only the U.S. and mainland China. European markets overall mixed for the week. The Swiss index was one of the smallest losers at 0.59%. The Istanbul market was the biggest loser at 2.92% negative. Other than that, the Latin American markets for the week, the Colombian coal cap, my dearest Colombia, it's not as dangerous as everybody says it is. Definitely go and visit. Was positive for the week at 0.4%, the biggest winner. And the Bovespa in Brazil was the biggest loser at 4.86%. Asian markets are mixed for the week as well. The Nikkei in Japan was up 0.29%, and the China SEC was at negative 1.82%. Big news in the cryptocurrency space this week, and Bitcoin, Coinbase, if you guys don't know, it's one of the largest stock exchanges, or I should say Bitcoin, cryptocurrency exchanges in the world, especially in the US. They're actually launching a Visa card in the UK where you're going to be able to pay with your Visa card anything with Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin as well. China is also planning to label Bitcoin as an undesirable industry in a draft proposal. They're recommending local governments eliminate the sector, and they're going to give a chance to the public to speak on the 7th of May to be able to share feedback. And as you guys know, since they listen, everybody, it will definitely still be banned in China after everybody shares their opinion. In financial news, the U.S. Federal Reserve is claiming that it's going to leave interest rates steady. It's not going to change them this year, given, quote unquote, given to the risk to the U.S. economy and the global slowdown, and also uncertainty over the trade policies and financial conditions. So the economy is not doing as well as it was before. That's why they're not going to change the interest rates this year. Italy's populist government, if you guys remember, there was a bit of a situation between the European Union and Italy where they're going to have a bigger deficit than what they should have under the EU rules. The EU rules state that it should be 2%, but they're now at 2.4% of GDP, and they're basically not going to get to 2%. The IMF is also saying that the global economic growth is slowing. There's a lot of policymakers and hundreds of economists that are now calling the downturn. We should have called it 4 or 5 years ago, like Marcello. At a time when the central banks are also, this is what the analyst said, at a time when the central banks' arsenals are running on empty. Essentially, there's really nothing they can do now. So if you guys are younger and you guys don't know what the 2008-2009 crisis was like, the financial system literally in the world was seconds away from collapsing. And if you guys don't know the story, in 1998 there was a hedge fund that actually collapsed. It's called Long-Term Capital Management. Then in 2008-2009, the financial system collapsed. and the government bailed it out. Well, who's going to bail out the government now in 2019, 2020? Bitcoin, right? It's going to get to 50,000 this year. Don't worry, guys. This is the year. 50,000 this year. Don't worry. Taking bets. Definitely not going to make it this year either. U.S. Chevron is going to acquire a company called Anadarko Petroleum and Stock and Cash, valued at $33 billion at $65 per share is the stock price that they're buying it at. It's going to enhance the upstream portfolio, strengthening its oil, shale, deep water, and natural gas resource basins. Other than that, oil prices hit its highest level in 5 months in Tuesday and Monday, boosted by the continuing output by OPEC and its allies, the cuts that obviously OPEC is doing with its allies, and also the sanctions that are placed on Venezuela and Iran, and there's a civil war going on in Libya. Oil is actually up 50% in 2009. For the week, U.S. crude is up 1.13% at 63.70, and international Brent is up 1.65% at about 71.50. Prices are now starting to level off, however, due to slowing demand and rising U.S. output. If you guys remember, U.S. is now the biggest producer of oil in the world. America. China expanded its gold reserve for its 4th straight month. They went on a bullion buying spree. If you guys don't know what bullion is, it's literally they say lingotes in Spanish, it's the blocks, the little blocks of gold. They're adding, a lot of people who are invested in gold are saying that this is allowing them to be optimistic about the price of gold going up. It's starting to move back towards 1,300 an ounce. For the week, gold was down 0.05% at $12.91. Silver was down 0.73% at $15.07. And on Thursday, Newmont Mining shareholders approved the $10 billion takeover of Goldcorp. It's going to create the biggest gold producer in the world with assets across the Americas, Africa, and also Australia. In political news, Netanyahu, which is the Prime Minister of Israel, won his 5th term, which is a historical record. India also held the world's largest general election in the world, seen as the referendum for the Prime Minister Modi. It's a 7-phase election that's going to conclude on May 19th with a party coalition or with a simple majority, which is about 273 seats, invited in the form of government. In the economy, India's GDP is forecasted to be nearly $1 trillion bigger this year than it was in 2014, not this year. So let me repeat that for you guys because this is actually really interesting. India's GDP is forecasted to be nearly $1 trillion bigger than it was in 2014. It's on track to replace the UK as the 5th largest economy in the world in 2019 this year. Only the US, China, Japan, and Germany have larger economies, which will probably change over time as well because obviously India has 1.3 billion people and continuing to grow, while Germany, I forgot the population, but it's a fraction of that. It's about 10%, and it's actually on the decline, or stagnant, I should say, on the decline long term. India is the fastest growing economy since 2015. The per capita GDP has risen from 1,600 United States dollars to about 2,200 in 2019, an increase of 35% under Modi. So he's doing something right. And manufacturing, which accounts for about 12% of the U.S. economy, is starting to lose momentum as the stimulus that Trump and the Republicans passed are starting to fade out. Remember, it was $1.5 trillion. It's also being hurt by the trade war between the U.S. and China, and the surge of the dollar in 2018 is also affecting that as well. IMF is lowering Mexico's economic growth outlook with different policies under Obrador, which is the president. Remember, I never want to get political on this show. I just report the facts. Obrador is from the left, which is interesting. But again, if you love the left, hate the right, whatever the case may be, just I want to remind you guys, never want to get political on the show. I'm just going to report you guys the facts. I want you guys to be able to learn how everything works. Other than that, they're expecting that the economy is going to grow at just 1.9% in 2020, down from 2.2%. And in 2019, the IMF is lowering the outlook to 1.6% from 2.1%. In corporate news, Pinterest is valued at about, I have the word here about, I don't have the valuation, but they want to sell 86.3 million shares, which is going to be valued at about $1.3 billion to $1.5 billion. at about $15 to $17 a share. They're going to go public for the first time. The values of the firm, I just found it here, at $12 billion, 250 million monthly users that are active. They posted $766 million in revenue in 2019. The revenue grew by 50% year over year, yet they're still losing, or I should say still lost $63 million last year alone. In trade news, the EU, the European Union, granted Britain a 6-month delay on the Brexit. They said that they can approve it earlier than that date if they wanted to, as long as it goes through Congress and is approved in the UK Parliament. But obviously there's still a lot of uncertainty in regards to what's happening with that, and that's obviously affecting the business climate as well. Other than that, Germany, in the trade news, Germany's exports slumped more than expected in February concerning of the economy of the European Union. As you guys know, Germany is the largest economy in the European Union, fourth largest in the world, Japan, which is the third largest economy in the world, is starting to have trade talks with the US. Trump wants to drop the $60 billion trade deficit, and the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe also wants to avoid any tariffs or quotas to the lucrative auto export market in Japan. Obviously, you guys know Honda, all these companies from Japan sell a lot of cars, especially in the US. In technology, Facebook is in talks to develop an underwater data cable or circling Africa. What it wants to do is be able to lower costs and make it easier for people to sign up. It's going to be a 3-stage project, and they're going to call it Simba after the Lion King. If you guys don't know, that there's a new Lion King coming out. In investment news, Democratic-led U.S. House vote on the bill to reinstate landmark net neutrality rules. So Democrats want to be able to go ahead and put this through Congress again so they can reverse what they did with the net neutrality rules. Trump is likely going to veto that. Save the Internet Act will restore more of the FCC regulations for online activity. Uber is also in IPO. They want to sell $10 billion worth of stock. It's one of the biggest in tech history, giving the company a valuation of nearly $100 million. They say that on Thursday the paperwork should be available, the registration documents. A bipartisan group of U.S. lawmakers is introducing legislation to extend the tax credit for electric vehicles for another $400,000 per manufacturer. It's going to give a boost to General Motors and also Tesla as the current credit actually is coming to an end. The entertainment giant Disney has announced a streaming service called Disney Plus for $6.99 a month. Their stock rose on Friday over 10%. And obviously they're saying that it's going to be a big competitor to Disney because of all the assets that they have, and also give quite a bit of competition as well to Amazon. Under Prime Minister Modi, the foreign direct investment in India has risen from just under $25 billion in 2014 to nearly $45 billion in 2019, last fiscal year, which is actually 2018, Since then, $193 billion has been committed by global investors. That is a huge amount of money and obviously very good for an emerging economy like India. In Venezuela and international events, the U.S. is stepping up its pressure and sanctions against the state-owned oil firm called PDVSA. Also in Sudan, the 3-decade reign of the President Omar al-Bashir actually came to an end when the military took over the government. They're saying that there's a really bad situation with him, saying that there's allegations of a genocide of nearly 300,000 people. In unusual facts this week, London is going to implement a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week ultra-low emission zone, which is going to try to help obviously help the environment and lower air pollution. Bank of America is raising its minimum pay to $20 an hour for more than 205,000 employees. It's going to do that over the next 2 years. Now, I want you guys to pay attention. If you guys have listened to this, pay attention to the amount of layoffs that are going to happen at Bank of America in the next 2 years as well. Keep an eye on that. You'll see quite a bit. Potentially record-breaking storm is going to hit the snow and howling winds across the U.S. Great Plains. It's going to flood rivers through Canada and the Gulf of Mexico. The giant system is going to come from Colorado to Minnesota. Could drop over 2 feet of snow. So maybe I'll stay here for another week, right, Jared? So we can see the field of snow here at Jared's house. Clayton J. What's it called again?
Follow the money.
Follow the money with Clayton J. Inside joke. Other than that, it's going to delay. It might delay actually spring cleaning or spring planting, I should say. Excuse me. Indonesia's President Joko hopes to extend his reach with hologram technology to try to be in two places at once and reach a lot more people. We're probably going to see that in this new election cycle as well. The top 5 global cities that are the most expensive to build in, from order to highest to lowest, is San Francisco, New York, London, Zurich, and Hong Kong. And a 131.2 feet rain vortex is being installed at the airport in Singapore, the Changi Airport. It's think of it like just a hole in the roof. Look it up. It's actually pretty amazing. There's just a huge waterfall that goes in between. It's really, really beautiful. Other than that, guys, that's the news for this week. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to put all the questions with the hashtag AskMarcello. We'll see you next week.